Beloved, I welcome you to our word encounter. This is your beloved Pastor Robert. Let's go into the word of God today. And I want to take our Bible reading from Isaiah chapter 1, verse 19 to 20. Isaiah 1, 19 to 20. And I read, if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Let's go to John chapter 14, verse 15. John chapter 14, verse 15. And I read, if you love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray to the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may abide with you. Beloved, today our reading from Isaiah and our reading from John chapter 14, verse 15 to 16 is talking about one thing. It's talking about obedience. So I want us to talk about obedience to the Lord. What does it mean to be obedience to the Lord? Obedience to the Lord means following the will of God. Obedience to God means doing what God has asked you to do. Obedience means paying heed to the precise instruction God has given unto you. Obedience means being humble to God's voice. Being humble to God's voice. What is obedience? Obedience means not adding up to what God have told you. Not adding up to what God have told you. What does it mean not adding up? Don't take out, don't add, and just do what you have been asked to do. Beloved, the Bible from Genesis to Revelation is centered about obedience. God always has something He's telling you to do. And you see, it is good for you to do what God has asked you to do. And the voice of God is always now. He may ask you to do something today. He may ask you to do it tomorrow, but you must not hesitate. You must not postpone it. The moment you postpone what God has asked you to do, you begin to lose the blessings. So the voice of God is always now. Do it now, not tomorrow. Do it now. The blessing is attached to doing it now and not doing it later. When you do it later or when you do it at your own time, you will miss out the blessings of God. When you read Genesis chapter 26, verse 1 to 4 to 11 to 12, there was a famine in Gerar, and Isaac wanted to travel to Egypt. And God asked him to stay in the land and plant, for he will bless him. Isaac obeyed and he was blessed. You see, blessings is attached, or blessings are attached to the word of God. The moment you are becoming obedient and willing to do what God has asked you to do, that is where the blessings are. So let's look at the benefits of obedience. Number one, the benefits of obeying God. Number one, God will always be with you. God will always be with you. When you are obedient to God, God will always be with you. Number two, He will prosper the work of your hands. Those who are obedient, God will prosper the work of their hands. Number three, you will enjoy the good of the land. The Bible says in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 19 to 20, when you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the fruit of the land. Number four, when you are obedient to God, you always experience peace and joy. When I talk about peace, you may not have money, but within yourself, you are so happy. You are content with what God has given you, and you are always okay. Number five, you will set a solid and a blessed foundation for your children. Those who are obedient, that obedience is not only helping you, it is helping your generation, your children that will come after you. Remember Abraham. Isaac was blessed from the descendants of where? Abraham. Jacob came from where? Isaac. So when you are obedient, you always set a standard of blessing for your generation. Number six, you will continually obtain favor before God. Number seven, you will always be favored and be distinguished among others. Remember Daniel chapter 1 verse 8 going down. The Bible said Daniel has purported in his heart that he will not eat the food of the world, the king. You see, he have decided that he will obey God. He will not violate God's word. When you are obedient to God, wherever you find yourself, God always distinguishes you. You are always different from others. I pray today, may the willingness and the obedience to hearken to God's voice, may that grace come upon you in the name of Jesus. And the last one, you will experience blessings in the midst of hardship. When you obey God, you will always experience blessing in the midst of hardship. Remember Genesis chapter 26. Isaac planted in that land, and God prospered him when others were in trouble. So when you are obedient to God, you always rise above hardship and struggle. Pray for you. May you rise above hardship and struggle. And today, may whatever God has asked you to do, you receive the grace of God to hearken to his voice and to obey. My brother and my sister, it's for your own good to obey God. When you obey God, your struggle, your hardship will be minimal. And when you obey God, his seal of blessing will always be upon you. God bless you. This is your beloved friend, Pastor Robert. Meet you next time for another word encounter. God be with you. Bye for now.